Then, soon after, I fell. Not while I was running, but I got a hematoma in my head and a concussion. But I kept with the running and the hiking. And then I got a stress fracture on my left foot. And I hiked and I hobbled through the pain for a week before I finally stopped. And I was put in a boot. And finally, I stopped. What was with me? What was with me? Why didn't I listen to my body? Why didn't I slow down, take care of myself, listen to what my heart, spirit was so clearly trying to say to me? Listen to what love was saying. Because, as I discovered in spiritual direction, I believed my self-worth and value were tied to exercise. And that's the embarrassing part. Because really, I tell all my clients, my spiritual directees, my yoga students, everybody, you are perfect just the way you are. You don't have to change one single thing about yourself to be perfect, worthy, whole. Why couldn't I believe that for myself? Hall of Fame speaker Amanda Gore says, many of us have as core fears, I'm not good enough. I'm not worth loving. I'm unsafe in some way. That was me. I was stuck in my ego, my false self, that part of me that believes, that is based in comparison, limited thinking, and fear. It's the voice that believes I'm only my body, my history, or my personality. I needed to connect to my self-love, to spirit. But you see, as I found myself saying to my spiritual director, I thought I could only love myself if I was exercising. What? That's conditional love. And that is not self-love. Self-love is fully accepting ourselves no matter what. It is embracing our entire selves without placing any yeah buts. It is loving our imperfections, our quirks, our mistakes, loving the parts that feel unworthy or not good enough, not able to hike and run. And it is possible. I've been on the fast track to accepting and loving myself over the past few months, and it's been quite a ride. Some may feel that in these times, individualism is far too dominant. Self-focus is overblown, and what we need is more empathy and connection. Is self-love even relevant? I believe that self-love is imperative so we can foster connection and empathy. That to fully show up for others, we must be able to love ourselves. To be a part of the oneness that is, we need to embrace our own divinity. Charles Fillmore wrote in The Revealing Word, love is the great harmonizer and healer. Love yourself and you will be able to love others. Today I want to talk about finding and embracing self-love. We'll look at 4 aspects of loving ourselves, recognizing that it is as we connect to our self-love that we are able to discover our divine purpose in life and live it out courageously, which is this month's theme and is in perfect alignment with self-love. Aspect number 1, we stop worrying about what other people think of us. What other people think of me is none of my business. I've finally come to understand this. But boy howdy, did I spend a lot of my life dimming my light, holding back my truth, trying to fit in, parroting others' thoughts or beliefs in order to be accepted, liked, or appreciated. How much of my life did I do things because I thought other people wanted me to act a certain way, or instead of because I wanted to? I went to college at UC Santa Barbara because my mom said, you liked UCSB, as we were going through my acceptance letters. I hadn't really. I liked UC Santa Cruz. But I went to UCSB because my mom wanted me to. You guys, I made a huge decision because I thought my mom wanted me to go to UC Santa Barbara. That is not self-love. That is self-denial. Self-love is speaking my truth. I know it gets easier to listen to what we want instead of what others want as we get older, but it can trip us up sometimes when we least expect it. How about when we're in a group of people who are talking about something and we want to speak up, but we're afraid to express our opinion? Has that ever happened to any of you? Yeah. Have you? So when this happens, we are not allowing our love to come through. We are staying in the shadows out of fear. When we act from self-love, we express ourselves with confidence and faith, knowing that we are important and valuable, that we deserve to be seen and heard. Eric Butterworth nailed it when he said, self-acceptance is the key to wholeness. A close cousin to worrying about what others think of us is being a people pleaser. And I know we have some of these in the house. I have certainly been guilty. We want others to feel good. And so oftentimes we put their needs in front of our own. And there is a time and a place for this, but not to our own detriment. We may think that acts of selflessness are pathways to love and acceptance. But as Dr. Heather Lyons acknowledges, this can lead to neglect of self-care and fostering resentments. She notes that people pleasers are known to avoid conflict and difficult conversations, apologize excessively, even when it's not our fault, take responsibility for others' emotions, avoid asking for help, over-explain ourselves, and have a hard time saying no. Does any of this sound familiar? When we engage in these behaviors, we are not loving ourselves. So how do we counteract this? We dig deep into our spiritual practices, identify our triggers for people-pleasing, and notice when we're feeling burned out or becoming resentful. Practice saying no in low-stakes situations. Recognize that our needs are just as important as others. We all hear, put your own oxygen mask on first. But do we practice that? Ask yourself, am I listening to my needs in this moment? What do you need? This is acting from self-love. Releasing what others think of us and diving into our own spiritual truth is a sure way to practice loving ourselves, and it puts us right on the path to living our divine purpose. Aspect number 2, we treat ourselves with the same love and care as we treat others. Are there any of you, you don't have to raise your hands, who think it's easier to love others than it is to love yourself? I used to think that the Bible verse, love your neighbor as yourself, was backwards. I was more challenged to love myself. And what does self-love mean anyway? In Unity, it's not about finding ourselves as superior or admiring our sparkling personalities. It's about understanding that our true selves are divine, an expression of God. Charles Fillmore said, there is a higher self in every individual, the Christ within. Self-love can look like recognizing our inherent worth and wholeness, treating ourselves with kindness, compassion, and forgiveness, and aligning our thoughts with truth rather than with criticism. Honestly, I used to hate it when people would ask me what I was doing to take care of myself if I was in a rough spot. I thought that meant, was I putting little candles around the bathtub when I was taking a bath? Or was I going to the spa or something? And that's just not me. But self-love doesn't have to look any certain way. One aspect can be treating ourselves as we would treat our friends, family, and neighbors. I often say to my clients when they are having a hard time, what would you say to your best friend if she was in this situation? Self-love invites us to ask this of ourselves. What would you say if your best friend was in this situation? According to Roger Walsh, author of Essential Spirituality, This boundless love is already within us, hidden behind petty barriers such as fear and anger, yet eager to fill our hearts, to flood us with unspeakable joy, with overflow into our hearts and love and relationships. So what are some basic ways we like to treat others? Well, we certainly don't use harsh and negative words with them, or we try not to. Okay, check. Release negative self-talk. Speak to myself with loving and positive words, just as I would speak to my friends. And we like to practice forgiveness when we're at our best. Okay, yep, good one. Forgive myself when I make a mistake. Let go. Learn from my mistakes and let go of them instead of just bashing myself over the head all the time. We also like to check in with people and see how they're doing when they're having a rough time. We check in with people when they're not having a rough time. We just check in with people. Okay, great. Check in with myself on a regular basis. Asking, am I being true to myself? Am I okay today? If not, what do I need? It sounds easy when I put it in those terms, right? Treat ourselves the way we treat others. Aspect number 3. We recognize our own divinity and live from this place. We all have the spark of the divine in us. We are light beings. We are the Christ consciousness. As such, how can we be anything less than love? I will never forget the moment it all came together for me. I was in a downtime, which I had a lot of back in the day. And to pull myself out of my doldrums, I was thinking about how much I loved Spirit. And then it hit me. I am one with Spirit. We all embody Spirit. We all are one with Spirit. And so if I love Spirit, and I am Spirit, then I must love myself. It's like A equals B and B equals C, then A must equal C. So I must love myself. It was the real world example of the transitive property in math. Whatever it is, it was quite an aha moment, and it changed everything for me. So how do we recognize this and live from this space on a daily basis? It's so easy to get stuck in our humanness, in our ego, just like I did with my running. Louise Hay says this: I see myself ever aware of the power of God within me as the source of everything I desire. I see myself confidently calling upon the presence to supply my every need. I walk through life with the happy companionship of my God self and joyfully express the goodness that I am. As I accept myself and know that I am good enough, I open myself to the healing power of my own love. I am worthy of this love. Trusting in our own divinity, in our God self, in the truth that we are one with the divine, with all that is, and all the love that is ever present. Meditation, spiritual reading, volunteering, spending time with friends, being in nature, what helps you connect to your own divinity and remember your self-love, that the divine within you is the love that you are. This love that enables you to connect to the oneness, that allows you to fully love others as you learn to love yourself entirely. H. Emil Cady, an early unity teacher, wrote in Lessons of Truth, deny the appearance of imperfection and affirm the truth of your being. Affirm the truth of your being. Love yourself entirely and love others from this place. This sounds to me like the perfect formula for acknowledging our divine purpose. We are each here to live out a sacred intention. As Rev Becky reminds us, that we are here to live awake And living awake is to live from our divinity, from our self-love. It makes so much sense. Aspect number 4. We listen to the messages we get from our hearts and our bodies. What is it like when we are completely in touch with ourselves, with what our hearts are telling us? First, let's separate out the difference between our hearts, our true selves, and our egos. Our self-love tells us we are divine, worthy, and whole. We align our thoughts with truth rather than criticism. We are curious rather than judgmental. We are a part of the oneness that is. The ego, on the other hand, shows up as the false self, of identity based on separation. It is the voice of fear, comparison, judgment, and limitation. It shows up as pride or superiority, the need for control, self-condemnation, and feeling separate from spirit and others. Eric Butterworth reminds us the ego is the false self, a belief about yourself that you have accepted as true. It is concerned with proving something, either that it is better than others or worse than others. But when we are listening to our hearts and our bodies, we are hearing the love voice. We aren't in our thoughts. We are in our hearts. We hear the question that asks, what would love do in any given situation? What would love do if your foot were killing you and you were about to go on a run? Or what would love do if your ego was telling you you weren't good enough, or you weren't worthy, or you didn't deserve, or you weren't up to the task? When we practice listening to our hearts, to our bodies, and become adept at responding to what we hear, we know we are practicing self-love. It's when we override the messages that we hear, or we don't hear them at all, that we know there's work to do. Simone Biles listened to her heart when she dropped out of the 2020 Olympics. She exhibited several facets of self-love, prioritizing her mental health, embracing her vulnerability, overcoming criticism, leaning on her faith, and emphasizing resilience. She tuned into her heart and did what was best for her, not allowing herself to be persuaded by the pressures of her sport, her country, her fans, anyone. That is self-love. That is tuning into her heart and her body, her inner guidance, her divinity. So now we've got the aspects of self-love. Stop worrying what others think about you, and people-pleasing. Treat ourselves the way we treat others. Recognize our divinity, and listen to the messages we receive from our hearts and our bodies instead of from our egos. So what does it all mean? What do we do with this self-love? First, we bask in it. We love it. We feel the feels and acknowledge the fullness we experience. We also recognize that loving ourselves allows us to completely love and be of service to others. When we come from a place of pure love, it is easy to spread that outwards. The Dalai Lama said, as you breathe in, cherish yourself. As you breathe out, cherish all beings. If we can come from this place and live by this mantra, these simple, sincere, and precious words, think of what a beautiful world we can create. I would also argue that when we love ourselves, we are on the path to finding our divine purpose. Unity teaches that each of us is here for a reason, and aligning with our purpose brings us deep joy and fulfillment. Living with self-love gets us more than halfway there. Once we have connected to that place where we love ourselves wholeheartedly, where it's safe to go inside and take a deep dive into our truth, finding our purpose is a joyful process. Self-love clears the channel and allows us to freely explore because we have let go of the fear of criticism. We can say yes to what makes us feel alive without comparing to others, without having to hem and haw about what resonates and what doesn't. Because as we love ourselves, we know ourselves without judgment. So what does make you feel alive? Ask yourself, how is love wanting me to express through me today? And see what you find. In exploring our divine purpose, we recognize that when we release the fear of what others think about us, we are free to express ourselves fully and live joyfully. Treating ourselves as we treat others, we are compassionate as we live our truth. Living from our divinity, we embody our spirituality and let this guide our inner knowing. Listening to our hearts and our bodies, we become attuned to our voice of love. We let go of shoulds and focus on the messages we are getting from our inner guidance. We discover why we are here, what makes us feel alive, and how we can serve. Self-love is the core of being able to love others. It is the center of finding our purpose and living with intention. It is not selfish, it is self-full and divinely welcomed. I hope as you work with these 4 aspects of self-love, you can connect to your highest purpose, allowing you to experience a joyful, fulfilling, and intentional life. The Buddha says it best. You, yourself, as much as anybody in the entire universe, deserve your love and affection. Connect to your heart, to the love that you are. You are perfect, whole, worthy, and divine. And so it is. And so now I invite you to take a deep breath in and connect to that space of self-love. Connect to that space that drops all concern about what others think about you. Connect to that space that is divine, worthy, and whole. And let the love fill your heart. Let it get as big as it is. Let spirit fill that warm space in your heart. Breathe in. Let your feet feel planted firmly into the ground. Know that you are safe and held and divine. That you matter. That the love that you are shines from you. That spirit fills you from your toes all the way through your head. That your divinity is. Your divinity is. And as you bask in this knowledge, know what a sacred space you are residing in this moment. Take 5 deep breaths. And so it is.